Hey everyone, welcome to today's bootcamp on Agile marketing campaigning. Today we're joined by Nick and Lydia, so they're going to introduce themselves in a minute. But if you have any questions throughout the presentation, if you just want to drop them into the panel on the right-hand side, and we'll do like a question and answer session at the end. So yeah, I'll hand over to Lydia and Nick now.
Great, thank you, Martha. So welcome everyone to this Agile Marketing Bootcamp. This is a high intensity leadership session designed to give you some key insight into how to drive results at pace from Agile marketing. At Bright, we've been working with ambitious firms of all sizes for over 7 years to help them embed these new ways of working and to drive more effective marketing, looking at improving performance and delivering against business goals. This year, I think, has made businesses and marketing agility even more of a strategic imperative. Surveys conducted by Deloitte and a recent report by McKinsey have both highlighted how agile processes are critical to the modern marketing function. So without kind of further ado, and I've got half an hour, I'm going to get into the session and introduce ourselves. So I'm Lydia, I'm Delivery Director at Bright. Essentially my role is to oversee all delivery and work with our clients and Bright teams to make sure the projects are hitting business goals.
And I'm Nick, I'm a demand manager at Bright. So I work with global IT tech B2B companies, working alongside their sales and marketing teams really to help them deliver better, more effective marketing campaigns.
Great.
So just to kick off with a quick poll. So really we want to find out from you guys how agile you think your current marketing activity is. So you should get some options coming up now. I'd be interested to see the results.
Okay, I'll give you a few seconds more. Okay, so I think. Great, that looks like everyone. So I'll close the poll and read the results out for you. So 22% said Agile as a ninja cat, 0 dabble, 56 said somewhere in the middle, 11 traditional marketing, and 11% as well traditional as Christmas to your grandparents. So those are the results from that.
That's great to know. It's good to know that people are already kind of making a move into this kind of agile way of working. I definitely think the past year has certainly driven us all more in that direction as well. So what we're covering today, taking you first into agile marketing thinking and campaigns, how we create opportunities at pace, then diving a little bit into defining those campaign and sprint level KPIs, which is really key to the success of the pace in this this session, and then turning data into your secret weapon. So by applying agile principles to your campaign, you will learn early on what works for your target audience. Creating opportunities at pace is a way to, and how we do that is by kickstarting agile thinking with your teams. So a lot of this is about having that adaptive approach by working in sprints. This is what we covered in the first week of the bootcamp. So I'm sure after the session, we can share that session with you guys again, if that's something that you didn't catch in there. And then the second point is about being collaborative, having a collaborative approach with your team, building cross-functional teams, and all having that singular focus on the customer. Getting those teams on board, having a clear value proposition for the customer, being able to read and understand the market. That all leads into responding to change at pace. Having that structure of the plan, do, review, but condensing that down into your sprint level activity, giving yourself 3 weeks traditionally to plan, do, and review each activity, allowing you some time to respond to what is going on in the market. A really key point here about Agile is that it is about having a plan. You have to have flexibility in how you respond, and you have that plan, but you do need to have a plan. So touching a little bit on the recent current pandemic and talking about how we have been reacting, it'd be really good to get an insight from you guys attending here about what impact that's had on your marketing. What's the key thing that it's impacted on?
Okay. There we go. I'll give you a couple of seconds to get voting.
We should have all the above as well for this one.
Yeah. Multiple choice. Okay, I'll just give that a couple of seconds more. Votes are coming through. Okay, so let's launch those results, share the results with everyone. So 8% said communicating effectively internally and externally has been most affected. 33% said business agility and ability to move at pace. 25% organisational progression. 0% client retention, and 33% budget pressures and cost control. So those are the results.
Great, that's really interesting to see that. I think the majority of modern marketers are already quite up on using communication tools to work remotely. So that hasn't been a problem for everyone. Right. Okay, so let's get into this detail now. Agile marketing is data-driven, but how do you know what data points to look at? It's really essential at the planning stage that the campaign level KPIs are set. These are your headline KPIs. They should be directly related to business goals and are normally focused on lead generation that will impact the bottom line of the business. One of the pitfalls we often see people falling into is a misunderstanding of their starting point. In order to set achievable KPIs, you must first understand where you're starting from. This is crucial to know if you are new to the market. Is this a new proposition you're taking out? Is this something that the target audience will have heard of before, unheard of you before? If it's not, you really must focus on those top of funnel objectives. So that's high level engagement, marketing qualified leads, rather than moving down to the middle of the funnel if you've already got that warm database. Would caveat here that everybody needs to be really honest with themselves about what they feel is a warm database. We do often see that you get started in a project, we have a lot of confidence about the data that we've got, it's been spent a while doing it, but actually the hygiene hasn't been there. It could be 2 years old, people have moved, especially this year, we've had a lot of movement between roles, so keeping that database up to date and having regular cleanse is really important so that you can set your KPIs effectively. If you've got a warm-based database, brilliant. Focus on the middle of the funnel, how you can move any marketing qualified leads down into sales accepted or sales qualified, depending on the terminology that you're working towards within your business. Taking that down a level. So being agile is about the small tweaks you make that add up to the larger impacts. To reach the long-term goals, we are focused on sprints. Does everyone understand sprints? If you don't, please can you just maybe just pop a comment into the messaging, and we can make sure that we cover that in a little bit more detail as we move through the session. But essentially the way that I'm going to be talking about sprints today is a 3-week cycle. So as you can see here, we've got sprint 1, 2, 3, 1, 3 to 6. Those sprints are traditionally around 3 weeks, giving you the time to do your plan day review as well. Some typical KPIs we focus on at the sprint level for sprints 1 to 2 are that engagement and focusing again on the database build. You are likely to see some sales accepted leads and some meetings set from this stage because you've got some low-hanging fruit. There's always that right time, right place. The first few sets of messaging will bring in a couple of sales accepted leads right at the beginning. As you move through to sprints 3 and 4, you're looking more at these sales qualified leads. How are you getting that level of engagement that has been agreed? And then channel conversion, specifically on email marketing, how that's converting, on your web pages. Are there forms there? Is that where people are getting stuck? Looking at setting them really specifically for your channels to see how those are working as well. Again, we can start looking now at the funnel. Is everybody sitting at the top? Have you got a big chunk in the middle and nobody's moving through to that meeting setting? Where are those sticking points in your funnel? As we then move through into sprints 5, 6 and beyond, the funnel becomes even more key. You'll start seeing your conversion rates. If you have those already within your business, brilliant, you've got a benchmark. If not, you need to be setting those benchmarks up, seeing what's working for you in your business, getting that feedback loop from the sales team to reset and make sure that you've got really important conversion rates through the funnel. As I said, Agile is all about those small tweaks. So knowing that you can increase your conversion rate by 5% at the MQL to SAL stage could really impact your bottom line. The key message here is that you won't get all your leads in the first sprint, but you will be continually optimizing and measuring everything as you go to make sure you're only focusing your time on those activities which are delivering value. A little handy tool that we've created. So a lot of what we see at Bright is people picking out a number of leads. I want 10 leads. Why do you want 10 leads? What bottom line is that going to deliver? So we've created a lead generation calculator where you should be able to input your sales targets, and then it will be able then know exactly the amount of leads you need to generate in order to deliver on your sales target. So just a little plug for that. Hopefully it's a helpful tool. Again, we'll share it after the session so you can give it a little play. All right. Optimization. I'm going to hand over to Nick now. He's going to talk a little bit about how to optimize specifically across a few channels and results so we can drive results at pace.
Perfect. Thanks, Lydia. So, as I said, yeah, looking at here how and I suppose when to optimize your campaigns, and really we're trying to get ourselves in a position to be able to make decisions based on data. So not on kind of gut feel, but actually on facts that we've managed to gather through our campaigns. So set yourself up for success. This is really all about putting the parameters in place to be able to gauge success or indeed failure from a sprint or a piece of work. We did some work back in the summer with one of our clients, NetSuite, where we were reaching out to contacts in Europe in August, which was always going to be a bit of a challenge. Famously, countries that enjoy a good summer holiday. But actually, we were able to put, because of the work we did with them before, we were able to put in some the parameters in place that actually we need to be hitting these targets in order to continue. Put in the meeting points with the clients, and actually, as the campaign progressed, we were able to compare our current results to those that we predicted, and just to make sure that actually yes, we were hitting the kind of the right targets there, and we're able to carry on the campaign and deliver ultimately a successful campaign. So we identified there was a potential risk there, and put in the parameters to make sure that we mitigated that. Patience, so don't react to your first results. I think we've all seen it with certain campaigns where you might send an email out and it's not getting an instant reaction. Especially now we're doing more and more digital activity. It's all about giving your campaigns, giving your channels, your projects time to succeed. And give them long enough to actually so you can learn from the results. And that might be learning what doesn't work, but either way, you're giving yourself time to actually understand that fully. And then segmentation. I think I'm not going to talk about the benefits of personalization. I think everyone on this call can understands that how that can be, the benefits that brings. But if we take it one step further and actually kind of break it down within kind of segmentation, I'm going to sort of talk about a little bit about some work we did with the British Medical Association. So we identified a number of junior doctors. So just looking at one of their their target segments, identify some junior doctors who are at risk of leaving the association due to a number of factors, understood their persona, what motivated them, why they might want to leave, and actually what benefits they were drawing from being a member, and then ran a targeted campaign just to that small group of that small target. By doing that and doing that successfully, we could then look at what worked from that and then roll it out to a wider campaign across the extended junior doctor target market. So really, if we look at those, and if we build all those three in together, that kind of gives us a good idea of how we can, set up a campaign that can quickly and effectively give us the information that we require.
I think it's a really important point here about having patience, especially again during the pandemic. We had a few people's immediate gut reactions to some marketing where you'd get one email response that was quite negative, and it's important to put that within the context of everything else that you're doing, and say that one positive result or one negative result shouldn't dictate the rest of your activity.
Yeah,
putting all of that together.
We're not looking at the micro results. We're looking at the macro, and it's very easy to kind of look at those. Something negative comes through quite early. It's quite easy to jump on that. But really, especially if we're doing kind of quite personal outreach, you need to give activities a week or two to really bring in the results that you want to have.
Specifically seeing that across LinkedIn activity, it's not the same as email. People don't have it open consistently, so leaving things, as you say, Nick, a week, 2 weeks to make sure that you're getting that time period to get the results is definitely one of the biggest learnings from 2020. So turning that data into your secret weapon is all about having three key things here. So insight level into data. So not just taking the data points, really applying your knowledge and your expertise as a marketer to understand what that means for you and the segment that you're talking about. The other thing here is a hypothesis. So going a little bit scientific, when you're testing something, don't just test it for the sake of it, make sure that you're setting a hypothesis. So for example, that could be that proper use of personalization will drive greater engagement and therefore pipeline. What we would suggest and what we've done with some of our clients is taking a small segment of the target audience, such as industry or functional role, and testing that hypothesis of proper use of personalization and understanding how that impacts, because personalization is hard and takes effort, so you should understand whether it works for a small target audience before rolling it out wider, making sure you're talking relevantly to your audience. The second really great thing that I love about agile marketing and campaigning is it validates assumptions and can challenge the status quo. So when someone comes to you with a great idea or great, let's test it, the perfect response to ideas that people are sharing within the business, laser focus on marketing at the moment and how that can deliver throughout a pandemic and how that can really accelerate through the pipeline. People always love to share their ideas with you, which you would really want to encourage and encourage throughout your team. Challenge it. Let's test that. Let's put the data behind it. Let's explore those gut instincts and measure it with data. And then finally, multiple data points. It's never about the individual. Say if one marketing campaign doesn't work, if one email campaign isn't working, maybe it's for that audience, perhaps it's how it's been used. Don't just throw things out with one response, but do focus on the value. So that's why we give things the 3-week sprint. That is your time period for evaluating the effectiveness of an activity. So stick to that. Okay, so making sure we leave enough time for questions. So I'm going to go through kind of some final points here about these critical success factors for campaigns and delivering at pace. Clear and relevant value proposition. Understanding how perhaps the change in the economic environment has impacted and whether you need to reframe your proposition so that it addresses the pains and gains of the target audience. Understanding your data gaps. It's a real sticky point. A tip here is to evaluate that data that you have in your database. Look at reaching out to gain more data, and always have a gated piece of content or an activity within your campaign that allows you to build data as you move through the project. However great you think your data is, it can always be improved. Call to actions with a bite-sized engagement. So again, when budgets are squeezed, budgets are cut, which we've kind of seen you guys all responding to here with the survey earlier on, taking those small first engagements, getting your foot in the door, making sure that the value of those is under the procurement threshold will give the salespeople the tools that they need to engage with their first, in that first instance with the prospects. And then finally, mind the gap, alignment with sales. They can be your greatest advocates or your worst enemies. Keep them close, keep them involved. This is a collaborative approach. Agile marketing is all about having those hubs, those squads, bringing people together. Sales need to be involved from the very beginning. This is a combined effort. We're all working towards the same goals here. They're essential in providing that feedback loop to the team to understand the quality of the meetings and gain insight on what's happening in the market. So bring them on board. Right, we love energy. We are curious people. This is all about bringing energy to your campaigns, accepting things that fail, learning from those, not being afraid of those situations, but always focusing on that end business value. So consistently moving forward with your campaigns and learning and exploring new ways of engaging with the target market. New doesn't mean, oh, great, we're going to do Instagram adverts today. It could be new ways of doing an email campaign, perhaps a different subject line, perhaps plain text versus HTML. New doesn't need to be completely new ways of working. It can just be slightly tweaked ways of doing the things that perhaps you've done for the past few years, but need to reassess those pieces of activity. So key learnings, don't be afraid to fail. Test, learn and build in your 3-week sprint activity. So you're moving things forward, and hopefully that has given you a little bit of insight. And Martha, hopefully you've got a few questions for us before I do this, the plug for our next week.
Yeah, so just following off. So following from this, you would all be sent a copy of our Agile Marketing campaign and game plan. So please take a look at that. If you've got any questions once you have had a good read, myself, Lydia, I think actually probably everyone at Bright is more than happy to talk your ear off around anything Agile. So please do not hesitate to get in contact with us. And as Lydia said, next week, don't be fooled by vanity metrics, which ties in really nicely to the presentation here, and promises to be a really interesting one, because it is, I think, such an important topic for any marketer.
Yeah, great. Thank you, guys. So we have got a couple of questions. So I'll start with the first one, and it is pandemic related. So how has the pandemic affected lead generation? So
the yeah, specifically the things that we have seen over this year is the pace of the pipeline. I think there has been a lot of top of funnel interest, but we are getting quite similar objections across all of our clients around that. Not right now, there's no budget, I'd be interested in X amount of months. This is why we have suggested around that call to action of having those small bite-sized levels of engagement to get people interested at a level which isn't a significant investment. It also really focuses on the alignment with the sales team. Those leads that aren't going to fall in the next 6 months should be passed back to marketing and nurtured. If you don't have that connection, all that hard work you've done to warm them up will just drop off because they'll sit in someone's pot to go cold because they're not, their need isn't urgent. So that kind of connection and making sure that the nurture is built into it is really important. But in terms of delivering at pace, those small level engagements from a call to action perspective are really key.
Great. And the second question is Agile marketing just a trend?
Oh, hurts. No, it's certainly not. It's a way of working that's actually well established. It's been extremely Agile itself is extremely well established within development teams and tech development. So we are really seeing the benefits of the journey within marketing and how it is clear that working to big goals but with short iterative approaches is just the way forward. I think that all of our clients are really enjoying the way they're working, and maybe sometimes even the ones who are tech based are surprised at how we can put Agile into more operational ways that they work beyond just their development of their software.
I think also, I think one of the big kind of cliched criticism about Agile that it's you know it's rudderless and there's no plan. I'd say it's completely opposite, because you're doing a small piece of work and actually you've already got a plan B, C if that piece of work doesn't bring you the results you want to do. So whereas instead of you're doing months of campaigning and actually they're not getting the results and having to, you know, come back together as a team and try and figure out what to do it. With Agile, you've already tackled those problems before they've become something that's, you know, a really big problem.
Great. So as Nick said before, we'll be sending around the game plan, so look out for that in your follow-up emails. And I have had a couple of questions about previous boot camps, because obviously these all kind of tie in together as a series. So if anyone does want any information or links to the game plans or the videos from previous or future boot camps, just drop us an email and we can get those across to you. So I can collate a list and I can send those out to everyone. And yeah, thank you, Lydia and Nick, for today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everyone who joined. As I said, you know, connect on LinkedIn. Would love to talk to you more about this and your experiences with pace in the pipeline. I think it's something that ROI and marketing is just what we need to all focus on. So yeah. Successful campaigns.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks Martha for
Right,
hosting.
Thanks guys. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.